Sweet. This is the Q&A for Brave for Abyssal sites. We're doing it live right now. So basically, Abyssal sites, it's a new PvE. It's a solo instance of PvE, so it's a little different than your regular, circling an ANOM and a VNI, because somebody can drop on you in a VNI. In the Abyssal sites, they can't drop on you until you either enter or leave, so it's a little risky. I'll get to that later. But yeah, so the Abyssal sites, they come in 5 grades. Basically, it's calm, agitated, fierce, raging, and chaotic. So that goes from level 1 to level 5. The best guide that I found on it so far is the Eve Uni. So it's wiki.eveuniversity.org/abyssal_deadspace. And I'll post a link to that in the show notes. Jinx will put it in the show notes, right?
Yep.
So we'll put the Eve Uni link in there. So the way you get there is the filaments. You probably heard about the filaments. You can buy them on the market, and I think they also drop in data sites. So when you're doing Explo, I think just the COM drop in data sites. So the COM is the level 1. And yeah, so I would start with level 1. The only ships that can enter them are cruisers and faction cruisers.
So I'm guessing these filaments are required to enter the site?
Yeah, so it's basically, the lore behind it is that you enter a new space. So you kind of open a wormhole in space and you light the filament. So the way that you do that is you can't be within, I think it's 100 km from a structure or a mobile depot or really anything in space except for a ship. And then you right click on it in your inventory and say use the filament. It gives you a pop-up box and says, are you sure you want to do this, idiot? You have 20 minutes and then you're going to die. It gives you a nice warning, and then you say, yes, I want to do it in 20 minutes or I'm going to die. And then it's a cool warp animation, then you end up in this new space. Once you end up in the space, so it's basically 25 variations. Like, think of it like permutations. There's 5 levels and there's 5 weather events. So that's also on the Eve Uni wiki. So it's electrical storm, dark matter field, exotic, plasma, and gamma. Basically, they all correspond to the damage types. So kinetic, thermal, explosive, and EM. And then there's a dark. And so the dark one, we'll talk about that later. But basically, the 4 different abyssal states, the weather they call them, correspond to penalties and the resists. So the only thing that really means, and I'm not super good at this, but what that means is you have to put the right hardener on. So I'm flying an Ishtar right now, and the fit that I found for that is on the, I'll put it in the notes, but basically it's an Ishtar fit. If you look up Ishtar Abyssal T2, that's what I'm running. And I've run up to tier 3. I'm about to do a tier 4 in a minute here. But the Ishtar, it's a drone boat, but it's also, I use a laser drone Ishtar. But basically for the first ones, you want to do probably a caracal, like a regular caracal, and we can post the fit to that. But the COM level 1 electrical caracal, it's not too tough. It's like a normal ANOM, but the important thing is to match the resists. So like an electrical storm is a penalty to EM resist. The caracal shouldn't have a problem handling that. This is where I am not an expert, and I would just do some Googling, do some learning. You're not going to learn everything in the audio, but I would say a normal caracal with a web, and I can post a fit. But that was the first one I used. You're going to lose it, but you'll get a sense for just using the filament, jumping into the site. There's 3 rooms once you jump in the site, and there's all kinds of different. There's faction drones. What is it, Jinx?
I haven't done one yet.
Oh yeah, there's shit. This is why I need the notes, and I didn't want to do it live. Hold on one second. Anyway, there's all kinds of baddies in there. You can read about it. Suetonia has a really good reference on all the baddies. So if you look up Suetonia Abyssal sites, you can read about all the baddies that are in there. They all have different resists. The important thing is to use the right drones and the right hardener. So like, all the different kinds of drones are corresponding to the different damage type, right? Like, let's see, I got my Where the hell did it go? Oh, I'm in UQ. Damn it. All right. Well, so the Ishtar. So I have Praetors. So I have 5 Praetor 2s and 10 Imperial Navy Praetors, and I'm using those on the Ishtar. The Praetors are Amar, and so the Amar have EM. So I'm running electrical. So that's really the gist. You want to run Praetors in the EM or electrical sites, and you also want to use an EM resist armor module or shield module. And so you basically want to harden yourself against whatever the damage type is that's in the abyssal space. So
and deal that type.
Right, and deal that type, right? Because the rats also have those same penalties. The next thing is you'll find these structures in there, and so there's a couple different structures. There's the clouds and there's towers. I don't really worry about them. I don't get in them. I think people are getting fancy, and they try to lure the rats into the different localized clouds. Like one has a penalty to the shield booster, another has a bonus to like sig radius and stuff. I just avoid the clouds. Like as soon as I enter in the site, and there's 3 rooms in each site, I just run away from the clouds, to be honest with you. Like I'll turn the prop mod on the and just run away from it, then just try to deal the damage. You can see one of the towers doing what looks like a PDS damage. It looks like points defense system damage, and they look like shrapnel going through the space. So I just avoid those 2. I just try to get to the most neutral spot because I'm not super fancy with it. But
Do you have to manual pilot?
yeah, for sure. So kind of the way that I'm doing it is once you enter into the site, drop drones, turn hardeners on, lock everybody up. The frigs first, because the frigs are going to web you and ECM you and do all kinds of horrible stuff. So I'll lock them up, drop the drones, start firing on the frigs and then the cruisers. Anything with strike in the name, you want to hit that first because those are the DPS ships. And so you manual pilot. What I do is if I'm really tanking it hard, like in the tier 3s, I just approach the cache. So that's the loot. The loot is in this Trigvalian cache, and you have to add it to your overview. And the way to do that is, I'm not in space right now, but you basically have to make sure it's added to your overview. In the overview window on your HUD, you go to the hamburger menu, open overview settings, and then you want to go to entity and the tab presets. I know I'm going through this fast, but then the top 2 are abyssal drone entities and abyssal spaceship entities. And so you want to add those. I don't think the Sarashawa overview has updated their jam yet. I was in their channel, and apparently he's having computer issues at the moment. So you kind of have to manually update your overview to make sure that you can see the cache, which is the loot, and also the all the ships that are in there. Because people have jumped in and not seen anything and then gotten totally blapped. So you definitely want to make sure you update your overview. Then, so what I do is I manual pilot a little bit, make sure I'm not in a bad way. Once I start tanking through the damage and I feel good about it, then I start approaching the cache. I'm in an AB Ishtar, so it's going to take a little bit. You've got 20 minutes to run it. So I want to make sure that I'm leaving myself enough time to get the loot. I hit the battleship. The battleship goes down if you've got the right EM. One time I lost a caracal because I just circled the battleship for 10 minutes and I couldn't kill him because I didn't have the right damage. So you definitely want to have the right damage type to match the resist hole that's in the storm. Yeah, and then you shoot the cache. So the cache is looks like I don't know if you watch Rick and Morty, but it looks like the sex bot in Rick and Morty. It's like a circle. It's like a sphere. So you have to shoot that, and then then you have to drop. Then it drops loot. You loot that. It drops a bunch of stuff. So every loot. So CCP was saying that every kind of loot drops in every hole or every type of abyssal. But the occurrences and the quantities are more as you go up. So there's all kinds of stuff, and they're basically seeding a new race into the game. So the Trigvalians, and their ships, and you can read all about that. I won't go into it now, but that's all the stuff that they're seeding. The market is super bananas right now with it. But so you pick that up, and then that basically opens a triangle-shaped gate as soon as you kill all the baddies in there. And then you go into the next room. It's either really frig heavy or it's cruiser and battleship heavy. So you go from kind of a 20 frigs that you have to run through to like a battleship and 5 cruisers in the tier 3s. And so you do all the dirty and then you leave. What I did is I came out of the 3rd room and I saw Tengu with an anchored bubble because he was just sitting there chilling. And I pooped myself a little bit, and then I turned on all my hardeners and dropped heavy drones and just went at him. And turns out that Ishtar did a real number on that Tengu who was hunting me, and he was actually fit. He convoed me afterwards, and he was like, good fight because I survived. And I was actually, I was going to take him, but he was set up for a Gila. So, there's hunters out there that are trying to kill people coming out of these sites. You can combat probe the filament trace. So they call it an Abyssal filament trace. And you can combat probe it. You can descan it. So even if you're at a super deep safe, you can combat probe it. So what I've been doing is having a Cloaky alt. And my Cloaky alt sits, 20 off, 30 off, maybe 50 off the Abyssal site. And I hang out in Standing Fleet. And I'll run the site, and then I'll do some PvP, and then I'll run some more sites, and I'll keep the Cloaky alt on the spot. Because if I see some dudes warp in, then I'll ask Standing Fleet to intervene. If a fleet warps in, I know I'm screwed, depending on the size of the Standing Fleet at the time. So I know it's a little risky to do it in GE and whatnot. I mean, some people have started to do it in Impasse. It's a little safer, actually probably a lot safer, but I would still recommend having a Cloaky alt. It's super easy to train an alpha clone to do a. Well, I don't think alpha clones can do cloaks. They can do covert cloaks. They can do
regular cloaks.
Regular cloaks, yeah. So all you have to do is just hang out, 20, 30 km off with an alt, an alpha clone or something like that.
Okay.
And then that's it. And so the most valuable things that dropped so far were the skill books. So, I think I'm going to train into the frigates, the precursor frigate and the precursor cruiser, which are the ones that I've gotten. And then you can build the ships. So 0 point condensate, I think. And the other one is some kind of, I don't have it in front of me. This is why I need the notes, Jinx. But,
It's okay. Does the T1 drop the skill books?
So any of the sites can drop any of the loot, but the chance is less. So you're rolling the dice. You're probably going to get more filaments. So that's the other thing is it'll constantly drop more filaments, and the data sites are only dropping T1s. And so to get T2s through T5s, you want to run the sites. So that I think that the T1s drop a lot of filaments. I wouldn't count on it for the skill books, but yeah. Yeah, and then the last thing I'll say is that. The T5s, it seems like aren't 100% worth it just from everything that I've read. They're risky, so sometimes because of the nature of how the clouds spring up, like basically if you could have if you look on Zkill, you could have a 1.5 bill blingy Gila and a blingy pod, and all of a sudden you start in a T5 and you're in a cloud and the rats aren't in the cloud, and then you just get wrecked, right? There's just no way. Like even in the Ishtar, I had to overheat the armor reps for like a hot minute, and I almost died. And that was in a T3. So the chances are you're probably going to die. So it really pencils. Like I probably made yesterday, I played for 3 hours, and it was about 500, 600 mil. Which is better than carrier ratting. So I've been carrier ratting, and now I've just not carrier ratted for a while and done this instead because it's way more fun. It's interesting, and I'm definitely learning about the game more.
Yeah. Do you know how well it compares to running like dead sites?
I don't. I mean, I know that on the 10 out of 10, I sell the 10 out of 10s for 100 mil. And then, people get anywhere from 150 to like 400, right? Depending on what officer modules drop. So, I think that's, if you probably do that on average, I bet the 10 out of 10s are probably better. But the thing about the filaments are you can pop a filament anytime, and the 10 out of 10s, you have to drop from, havens and such.
Yeah, so the Abyssal sites are more reliable for income than dead sites.
I think so. At this point, yeah. Like,
and
if
you can do it in any system too.
Totally. Yeah, you don't have to travel and do the bookmark thing and all that. So I would think so. Like, what I did is I used my jump freighter. I brought in like 30 filaments from Jita just because I didn't know. The GE prices are bananas, by the way. Like, people are putting the filaments up for 10 mil, for the comms, and the Jita is like 1.5.
That's the recommended price listed under the module, so that's probably why people are putting up for that much.
Yeah, it's like the cartel price, but in Jita it's like in Jita it's $1.5 million right now. So I brought a bunch from Jita because I was like, oh, I could sell them if I need to, and if I don't, I'll run them. And so, all in all, it's been way more like satisfying, I would say, than carrier ratting. Carrier ratting's cool because you get to learn how to do a carrier, but then after that it sucks. So this has been fun in general because it's a challenge.
My hope is that T1s get cheap enough that people will donate them to Dojo and then we can give them out.
Well, I mean, 1.5 in Jita seems pretty cheap for what you're getting.
Oh, sorry for being late, but what ammunition should I use for the Abyssal sites?
So, yeah, no problem. There's basically a bunch of answers to that depending on which site it is. There's
dark matter one, the dark one.
Dark ones are tricky because there's a penalty to the turret optimal and fall off range. So all turrets get a penalty, and then you also get a bonus to maximum velocity, which is a plus 50. What that means is drones don't apply as well because they're going super fast, and so a lot of these are
missiles would be better for something like that.
Yeah, missiles. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the thing is though, I lost 150 mil yesterday failing at those with missiles.
I wouldn't do a dark. So the darks at the moment are, if you watch Sutonia's videos on darks, like the Sacrilege, I think. So he's running those. He's running T5 darks in Sacrilege. I don't know a lot about the darks because I haven't run them. That's why they're the cheapest on the market. Like, if you want to crack the code of darks, then you could get a good ROI because you can, return on investment, because you can buy super low because not a lot of people are doing them, and they get the same amount of drops as other people. So you could pay, 3 mil for a good one instead of 15 that somebody else is. And so there's margin in that. I just don't know how to beat the darks right now.
It'll probably be a couple months before it's really locked down on how to do it.
Yeah, like there'll be best practices and all that out. That's kind of why I was talking to Jinx about doing, video or a quick audio of this. Just, a lot of people are asking, and I looked into it for myself, and this is what I found. But I'm no expert. This is just.
The thing that screws me over the most are the battleships.
Which ones?
They look like the drifter ones, the drifter battleships.
And what happens?
There's a red laser, a continuous laser beam pointing at me, and then I die after a minute.
That's the target painter, yeah.
I think Card Ross has done a couple darks. If none of you, all of you guys in Abyssal Space channel? Right now it's a closed channel. We're trying to get a public one.
Oh, it's not a target painter. No. It actually does damage.
Oh, it's probably their new
user.
It's
the new Triglavian weapon, isn't it? The one that has increased damage over time.
Well, yeah, that one.
I think you might be perceiving it that way, but the target painter itself doesn't do damage. But as soon as you get target painted, what that does is it increases your signature radius. And so you go from the size of a cruiser to the size of a battleship. And so their weapons apply, 30 or 40% better and 30 or 40% more damage. There's really, in these sites, there's not that I've seen anything that is a speed tank. So like with a Vex or Navy, when you're just circling the havens, you're going, 1200 km, And so anything over 1,000 or 1,100, the rats can't apply to you, so you can speed tank them. I haven't really seen a speed tank solution for these sites, which basically means that it's all shield or armor tank. So all the solutions that I've seen so far are active armor or active shield tank. If you don't have an active rep of some kind, because you're basically repping faster than the total DPS of the site can put out at any given time, you're going to fail. And so any passive tank, I haven't seen any passive tank that wins at these yet. And that's not saying that there doesn't exist, but have you seen one?
Yeah, I've seen passive tank Caracal, I think with T2 Purgers and I forget what the shield module is that does the. Anyway, I'm going to try to, on the wiki, I want to start putting different fits and then,
Totally.
if we figure out which fits that we want to suggest, then we'll start editing it down. But
I'm with that.
And what ships would you currently recommend to run these sites?
What can you afford?
Well, it's more of just having the skill. I can't really fly any T2 anything that's cruiser or above.
I think if you went Caracal, and did the T1 sites with Caracal, until, what I would do is run the T1 site with a Caracal fit. There's a Caracal Navy fit on, hold on, I'll look up the website.
Caracal Navies have a use now?
They don't, but only because they have one more high slot for some more DPS. But I mean, with my skills, I got away with doing a regular Caracal with a web. It's basically our regular Caracal fit, but with a web and the specific damage resist. Yeah, the resist in the low modules. Most of the tier ones. I don't know about the darks again, but it'll beat the electricals for sure. So I would run those until I paid for my Caracal, maybe like 30 or 40 million. And then after that, I would, once I paid for it, then I would go to a T2 and fuck around with the T2. And then if I died in a T2, then okay. Then I had fun and I learned, and then I can buy another Caracal and just run a bunch of T1s. But as it is, I don't know if those can run T2s or not.
Okay. So for the interest of training into ships, what would you recommend for me to train into to do the higher level ones?
What have you been doing?
In terms of training?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, most recently I was just kind of fishing off my racial frigate skills and Caldari Destroyer, and that's what's been recently. I'm also just topping off the skills to get the wormhole Dominic's fit, but
Oh yeah.
what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to be training one of the racial cruisers up to 5. So I just want to know which one to go for.
Yeah. Which is the when you've seen other PvP happen, which are you most drawn to? Like the missiles or the drones or the brawling? Like, what do you like best?
It's usually either drones or missiles because I like the utility of them.
Yeah, the drone skills, you can't go wrong. Like if you look at all the drones and especially drone durability, people forget about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with training drone skills in general. And then I think it's Galenti, but the Vexor navies, the Vexor, the Gila is really good to train into. Gila is good if you're interested in wormholes. So if you're doing the wormhole Dami, like the wormhole Gila with a bunch of shield skills is super good.
Yeah.
You could talk to the Spoopy guys about that. They have a nice, like, super blingy Gila that they run all the, wormhole sex party stuff out of. Yeah, so,
talks about.
Yeah, drones are, I started with drones. Drones are super fun. I went drones into super close brawly. I didn't really regret, but I don't use a lot the super brawly stuff that I like. Like, I want to just blast somebody in the face with stuff, so I trained all that up to 5. But the thing is, in nullsec, you don't really use it that much.
Yeah.
In Dojo, I linked a Carbross's big ass frigate Caracal that he's used for T1s. So it's got
Okay, and that's
it does
the
have an
Slack
active
channel.
tank. Well, no, this is all passive tank. No,
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 I was asking, did you link in the Dojo Slack channel or
in game.
in game? Okay.
Can link it elsewhere if you prefer.
Yeah, it's just I'm actually not in that channel because the updates literally had me drop all my channels that I had open.
Yeah, please join the Brave Dojo channel.
What's it called?
Brave Dojo. It's in the welcome mail. We've actually the numbers since the chat problems in March, the numbers have dropped way down, so we want to get people back in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Could you link the fit again real quick? Thank you.
Yeah, you can use the regular rapid lights too. That's got the Malkuth rapid lights. That's just for more DPS. But I mean, you could fit that out of GE and run the T1.
And you, Card is saying that you have to overheat sometimes, like particularly on like the battleships.
Okay, and do you have to clear out all the enemies to be able to loot the cache, or
Yeah.
is that okay?
Yeah,
So-
you have to finish not the drones. So if the ships in the site have drones, you don't have to kill them. You just kill the ships.
Okay, so it's not like some of the lower Dead Space sites I've done where you can just ninja loot the cannon warp off without killing everything.
Yeah, I don't think the gate opens until all the rats are dead.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can't warp out of it. That's the thing, is you have to finish it. So there's nowhere to
Okay,
warp
so you
out.
can't even leave the site without
Right.
killing everything.
Yeah, it's all in there, and then I don't think you can go something like it's 150 million K or 150 km sort of sphere radius, right? It's a bubble, so you can't go outside of the bubble.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're stuck in there.
All right, so I guess what I'll do as far as training for the higher level sites is just train up my Galente cruiser skills up to get into those.
Yeah, I think so. Or sacrilege is the way to go. Also, like it's really whatever you want in your whatever's the most fun for you. Because it's a game at the end of the day. And so
Yeah.
For me, it went Vexor Navy. I tried the Rattlesnake for a minute, and then Vexor, to make money anyway. And then I did market trading, and then I was like, fuck market trading. I want to do carriers, and then I did carriers, and now I'm doing these. So it's just, it's an evolution. These are a little weird because, the caracals, I would just run it in a caracal. The T1 sites, I would do a bunch of them until you can make a bunch of money, and then once you start messing around, you can try some different stuff. But long term, I mean, drones, you can't go wrong. There's a ton of drone boats.
Yeah, and some of it should be your preference too. Like Jinx is my main and has mostly combat skills. Anyway, I want to get into the Serb, so my goal is to run the 3s and then maybe the 4s in the Serb.
Yeah. Yeah, I may actually do the Kaidara cruiser because, again, I want to eventually get into the Serb for some PvP. And also eventually the Tengu as well. So maybe I'd go that route instead.
Totally. Those are awesome ships. And plus, with the Tengu, you can do 10 out of 10s in the Tengu. You could do 10 out of 10s.
Yeah, so it's great multi-purpose ship.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But if I ever want to do, run it in Aguila, I already have pretty decent drone skills, especially for medium drones.
Yeah, the drones, for Gila's, the wormhole life is where it's at. So if you talk to Swoopy about their Gila fit and train up to that, you can't go wrong because it's a bunch of shield stuff. It's a bunch of afterburner. In the afterburner to 4, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I guess Algazil about that.
yep, he will talk your ear off about it, I think.
Well,
Cool. Did you get all that, Jinx?
Yep. So this was Bobby Boucher's Q&A about Abyssal sites, and he's going to give us a class with video, I think, in the future.
Yes.
Awesome.